Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning Information Meeting for the Willows Neighbourhood. My name is Leanne DeLong, and I'm a planner with the City of Saskatoon, and I will be your moderator for the evening. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge that the land upon which we broadcast and the land we are discussing today is located on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis Nation. As you are probably aware, the City of Saskatoon is conducting all public consultation online, over the phone, and via letter mail these days due to the COVID pandemic. This Teams live event is one of the ways we are facilitating public consultation while remaining physically distanced. We sincerely apologize regarding the limitations resulting from the format and setup of a Teams live event, and we appreciate your patience as we navigate this. We would like to also acknowledge that the original public information meeting that was scheduled for December 15th, 2020 was met with delays in the delivery of the public notice mail-out, which did not provide residents with appropriate notice. Tonight's meeting is the first meeting in a series of public engagement activities for the Willows Concept Plan Amendment proposal submitted by Dream Developments. We would like to note that due to that postponement of the first information meeting, we have posted a pre-recorded information video for residents and interested parties to watch at their leisure. We do want you to be reassured that we are aware that some residents may have not watched that video and want to reiterate that we are approaching tonight's meeting as the first opportunity to provide information on the proposal, hear initial feedback, and answer any questions from residents. Tonight's meeting is not a vote, nor will it be the last opportunity by any means to share information, to ask questions, or to be able to provide your input. This is the start of consultation, so please be assured that we want to hear from you. To date, we have received a lot of feedback regarding lack of consultation with residents of the Willows, and in particular, questions asking why there has been no consultation to date. Consultation by the City of Saskatoon is undertaken when proposals have evolved based on the technical reviews of the proposal into a more completed application, one that includes all the requirements needed for an amendment to application of this magnitude, and where it can be demonstrated that there are no technical requirements that would impede the possibility of the proposal. As part of tonight's information meeting, we will be responding to the most frequently asked questions and inquiries that we have heard from the feedback that we have received to date. And then we will open up the meeting for additional questions regarding the proposal. We also want to note that this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to our Engage page once the meeting is over. This will provide residents who are unable to attend tonight an opportunity to watch the video in the future. Tonight we are joined by Councillor Marin Lowen, the council representative for your area, who will be starting off the evening with opening remarks. We also have joining us Anastasia Conley, a planner with the Planning and Development Department. Anastasia will be presenting the proposal and answering questions on behalf of City Administration. Daryl Dawson, Manager of Development Review with the Planning and Development Department. Daryl will also be answering questions on behalf of City Administration. Brad Zervinsky, General Manager for Dream Developments. Brad will be presenting on Dream's development proposal and answering questions on behalf of Dream Developments. And lastly, the city staff who are behind the scenes ensuring this evening is running smoothly. We have Tony Wood and Catherine Cambites. With that, I would like to hand it over to Councillor Lowen.
Well, thank you very much, Leanne, and hello, everyone. It's very strange and unfortunate to not be seeing faces out there, but I really do want to start off by saying a thank you to everyone who is dedicating their evening to this conversation and for making the time to be here. I know this is almost nobody's first choice in terms of how to structure a conversation like this, but really want to say how important it is to have public feedback about these matters. It's essential for council to make good decisions, and your participation in this event really helps council to have the best information possible when eventually a matter related to this or this application goes before a public hearing. And I also just want to take time to thank everyone who's written to me and people who have taken the time to call and share feedback or questions and concerns about this item. And I know that some have voiced concerns about the ability to hear all the necessary feedback in this time and format. And so I just want to take a moment to reiterate what Leanne has said, which is that this is the beginning of that piece of the process and not the end. And I, for one, am very committed to ensuring that your voices are heard. And so I want to just reiterate, even though it's already been said, that I think there is a lot of space in the process for additional conversations and meetings, and I'm committed to participating in those. So I want to make that really clear. There will be other opportunities to have feedback on this matter if you don't get a chance to ask your question or share your comment tonight. And I also just want to spend a minute talking about my role in this and council's role generally, because it's a bit unique and I think worthy of some explanation. And that's, essentially that when council is making decisions pursuant to the Planning and Development Act, council in that capacity is acting in a quasi-judicial role. And council has different capacities, acts in different capacities depending on the decision item before them. But this is the type of matter that would be addressed in a public hearing meeting of council. And public hearings are a little bit different than your regular business agenda and must be conducted within the rules of natural justice. So the rules of natural justice require a member of council to be capable of persuasion at the public hearing. So just like a judge would not announce a verdict at a trial until hearing the evidence, neither should a council member announce what their decision will be without hearing the information at the public hearing. And the reason I wanted to bring that up tonight is because I know that sometimes it can be frustrating for the public on a contentious matter to not know how their councillor is going to vote. Often people will want to hear their councillor commit in one direction or another on a matter. And so I wanted you to have some background about the need for councillors, including me, to remain persuadable and without attitudinal bias on public hearing matters. So again, thank you so much for your commitment to your community and the passion that many of you have already shown for your community and for making the time tonight to participate in this meeting. I'm going to be here, and so if you have questions for me later, I'd encourage you to put them forward, and you can always follow up with me offline as well. So thank you again for being here, and thanks to our team for giving me a moment to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Lowen. Next up, we have Anastasia Conley and her presentation on behalf of City Administration.
Hello, as Leanne mentioned, my name is Anastasia Conley, and I'm a planner with Planning and Development Department at the City of Saskatoon. Next slide, please. Dream Developments has applied for a concept plan amendment for the Willows neighborhood. When an application to amend a neighborhood concept plan is received by Planning and Development, it is reviewed for conformance with the official community plan, zoning bylaw, and other applicable planning policies and development regulations. It is also circulated to other civic departments to review technical considerations such as the capacity of water, wastewater, stormwater, and transportation infrastructure. Once internal review by the relevant civic departments is complete, public engagement on an application is undertaken. This phase of the process provides the opportunity for members of the public to review a proposal, ask questions, identify issues, and to provide comment. Registered property owners and the ward councillor are notified of the neighborhood concept plan amendment application and are invited to provide questions and comment. Planning and Development prepares a report that includes a recommendation on the proposed amendments and outlines information collected from the internal review and public engagement process. The final decision to approve or deny the amendment rests with City Council, who considers the report and recommendation along with Municipal Planning Commission's feedback at the public hearing. Next slide, please. Council approved the current concept plan for the Willows neighborhood in 2003. At that time, the official community plan was amended to include this new land use form, which acknowledges the unique needs of a golf course community, while also adding additional regulations not typically found in the urban context. The approved concept plan was set up as 2 development phases. Next slide, please. The amendment is for the second phase of development, and proposes a reconfiguration of the street network and lots, including a reduction to the allowable lot size, increase in the estimated population for Phase 2 from 722 people to 1,387 people, and the addition of the 7.4 hectare parcel of land for an estimated 326 people. Expansion of the commercial land uses, and to provide opportunity for fee simple lots to be located in Phase 2. Next slide, please. Since the initial public notice, which was issued on December 1st, 2020, administration has received several emails and phone calls from residents regarding the proposal. While this list may not represent all of the concerns that residents might have, we want to provide a quick overview of the common concerns and the questions that we've received so far. Concerns related to traffic, particularly along Carrick Street, the reduction of the golf course from 27 holes to 18 holes, the loss of open space, in particular, the trees surrounding the site of the Red Barn, the increase in density and how it relates to the traffic concerns and the loss of open space, questions about fee simple and how that might impact existing residents, and concerns related to the new commercial land uses that are proposed. Since these questions came up more frequently, administration will provide a general response to each prior to the question and answer period. Next slide, please. As part of the application process, a traffic impact assessment, or TIA, is required. This TIA is reviewed by the City of Saskatoon Transportation and Construction Department. The TIA recommended some changes which would be required by the City of Saskatoon should the amendment be approved. This includes the signalizing of 2 intersections. These intersections are Lauren Avenue and Cartwright Street, and Clarence Avenue and Cartwright Street. The applicant is also proposing that the second access onto Lauren Avenue is right out only. This means that vehicles traveling northbound along Lauren Avenue will not be permitted to turn into the Willows neighborhood at this intersection. The density increase was also identified by residents as a key concern related to traffic. Other items, such as golf cart crossing locations, are currently under review with the Transportation Department. Next slide, please. Administration reviews the parcel subdivided for the land use of a golf course. However, we do not regulate the layout or number of holes within that parcel. Administration regulates the infrastructure, site servicing, and the development standards as outlined in the zoning bylaw. The golf course layout remains at the discretion of the property owner. Any privately owned property may plant or remove trees at the property owner's discretion. Prior to the approved 2003 concept plan, a biological study was required, and as part of the current amendment application, a natural area screening study was required. No ecologically sensitive areas were identified in these studies. However, administration has heard from several residents that the maintenance of existing trees and open areas is very important. Next slide, please. The current approved Willows concept plan requires that all residential development within the neighborhood be subdivided as part of a condominium plan. This means that, with the exception of Cartwright Street, all internal roads, lights, sidewalks, open spaces are privately owned by the condominium owners. A condominium plan and fee simple lot are both methods of subdividing property. In a condominium plan, property owners have a share of the property. In a fee simple lot, the property has one title of ownership, and local roads, streets, sidewalks would be subdivided as public right-of-way. Next slide, please. The city does not provide maintenance, street cleaning, or street clearing services on private roads. This is consistent with all condominium developments throughout Saskatoon. If the amendment is approved, new public right-of-ways will receive the same level of service typical on any public local road. Next slide, please. As it stands now, the following commercial uses are permitted within the golf course: the golf clubhouse and uses considered accessory and related to the clubhouse and golf course operation. This is including, but not limited to, restaurants, lounges, the pro shop, tennis courts, swimming pools, retail and retail services limited to 929 meters squared of gross floor area, personal service trades, medical clinics, banquet facilities, convention and catering facilities, administration, and sales offices. The amendment application does not propose any rezoning. However, it proposes changes to the regulations within the Direct Control District 4 that would provide for the proposal if approved. The Willows neighborhood, both Phase 1 and Phase 2, is regulated by the Direct Control Zoning District 4, or DCD4. The intent of the Direct Control District, specifically for a golf course community, is to allow for the community to be individually designed for local conditions. A DCD is used where it is considered desirable to exercise particular control over the use of development of land and buildings within a specific area. DREAM is asking for an amendment to these bylaws to expand the permitted commercial uses to those that are not strictly associated with the daily operations of a golf course and accessory to the clubhouse, such as a hotel and other retail or service-based uses. Under the proposal, commercial uses permitted within the neighborhood would still be required to be of a scale appropriate to and complementary to the golf course community. This is part of administration's ongoing review of the application. At this time, specific amendments to the Direct Control District commercial land uses have not been prepared. A market study specific to the needs for a hotel and commercial land uses within the area is required as part of the application and will be reviewed by City Administration upon receipt. This concludes administration's presentation on the process and a quick overview of the concerns we have heard so far. As mentioned earlier by Leanne, there is a more detailed presentation on the application and process available on the City of Saskatoon Engage page. Brad Zerbinsky, General Manager of Dream Developments, will now present on the proposed amendments for the Willows. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna, for the introduction, and Leanne as well. And again, thank you for everyone that's tuning in to listen to some of the different aspects of the proposal that we have in front of us. On Friday last week, I had distributed a Q&A that kind of went over some of the discussion points that Anna brought up and some of the frequently asked questions. That was also sent to all the condo board presidents as well for distribution for everyone. So I'm just trying to get some of those pieces of information to everyone's hands as possible. But to start with the plan and the overall plan that we have in front of us, we'll go into some of the more specific areas as outlined here on this and what Anna has mentioned. So we can just start with kind of the overall concept within the plan. And one of the things that Anna mentioned earlier was the inclusion of the multifamily area or the low density multifamily area on the north side of the plan. I just wanted to bring some attention to that as well, as it is currently being brought into the Willows. That is a parcel of land that was not owned by Dream, but another group that would likely be submitting an application separately themselves as well. So there is a certain amount of people that is located within that area that, although it shows up in the overall increase in statistics, it's not necessarily directly within the Willows itself. So I just wanted to highlight that one piece. The other aspects of the overall design is kind of laid out there, and we can go through each of them. So the number one thing that we're trying to achieve is having a complementary housing style to that of the existing neighborhood. So with that, we will talk about one of the changes in the DCD regulations as it relates to the minimum size. But what I wanted to highlight was the average size, and what we're likely to see is a lot larger than that and more in line with exactly what we have out there, with definitely some larger lots. The other thing that we want to highlight with that specifically again is the architectural controls that we would have in place that would be over and above what the DCD zoning would entail, and that would be very specific to the form of the homes, in addition to landscaping around them as well, to make sure that we're receiving a very high quality built form, very similar to what we have at the existing area of the Willows through this. The other aspect that we would touch on is the Doug Carrick design golf course and the aspects around that, which we'll cover in another slide. And then, as Leanne highlighted and Anna, we have the introduction of some different amenities within the area, and they're highlighted on this as kind of a commercial and mixed use sites, but what we're actually talking about is something much more specific than any general term commercial or mixed use. And these areas are aimed to be amenities for the overall community and something that really adds value overall to the entire area. Finally, something else that's a bit unique within this area is the introduction of parks, some additional walking paths, playgrounds, and other sporting amenities that we can talk about on a slide. Next slide, please. So first, on the golf course itself. Previously, the Willows was a 36-hole golf course. It's currently a 27, and the plan we have in front of us shows an 18-hole golf course. We've been studying the golf course operations of the Willows over the last few years, and we're trying to find a golf operation model that is financially successful both now and then well into the future, that we can all be very proud of. And through our analysis, the 18-hole model that focuses more on members and homeowners and less on other types of avenues such as tournaments was found to be the most financially sustainable, successful model, and that is largely what we've built the course around, is that. So again, what we're really trying to achieve here is a successful golf course that is done to a very high quality, and to that end we've hired Doug Carrick as our lead designer. Doug is renowned with golf course design in Canada and internationally as well, and one of the most signature courses he's worked on recently is Predator Ridge in the Kelowna area. With that, another question has come up with the lack of green space or removal of trees, and although some tree removal is inevitable with development of that nature, we do have within our plan of the rebuilt golf course the plan to plant hundreds of trees in addition to the ones that we're removing. And one of the values of having some different ages of trees kind of being introduced within the Willows area is it allows us to have a tree canopy that is a bit more sustainable going forward. Once older trees within the area reach the end of their lifespan, in the future we'll have another group of trees coming up as well to make sure that we have a very vibrant tree canopy within the area. Another point about that is the additional tree planting and screening that we can also do in specific areas to create some more green space and soften some of those other areas. Next slide, please. Talking about the commercial. So again, I mentioned how just the word commercial can I guess lead your mind down a myriad of different paths as what it could be. Nothing related to Tim Hortons drive-through, a Motel 6, or any other kind of things that I've heard, but it's something that's a bit more tailored and very specific actually to be a Nordic spa and wellness hotel that would be attached to that. And really the goal of the Nordic spa experience, it's an adults only experience, and it's something that is tranquil and quiet and something that would be a very high-end amenity for the area, not only the Willows but for Saskatoon. So it's something that's a lot more specific that is planned or proposed for this area, and it's not an open-ended type of use. And with the DCD zoning, we have the opportunity to really tailor site design at different elevations and ensure that the site design is cognizant of the areas around it, that the site design and the architecture is of a very high quality, and that things are built to a very high standard. With that, and I know Anna mentioned again the trees specifically around the Red Barn, the spa itself uses that tree canopy, and it would be of high value to that spa to maintain as many trees as possible, and that is exactly their goal, to really have the spa set within the bottom and be something that is tranquil and a quiet experience for the patrons of that and the residents as well. So that is a bit more of the focused, I guess, idea and concept for that commercial, and great care will be taken to make a high quality design. Next slide, please. Again, similarly with the mixed use parcel that we see on the left side of Cartwright Street, mixed use again might only apply to a very small subset of this parcel, and the majority of it would be multi-family residential, very similar to what we currently have at the Willows, with the potential for buildings such as 401, 408, or also lower density multifamily as it existed on the previous concept plan, with something similar to 301 or 201. So there isn't any specific plans in place, but it's those types of multifamily residential, very similar to what we have at the existing areas of the Willows, that will be planned for this area. The mixed use component or small retail area that was proposed or envisioned would be on the south end of this parcel that would interface back towards where the clubhouse is. That area is in between that parcel and the clubhouse is planned to be more of an overall amenity area for the residents of the Willows, and there would be a strong kind of interesting interaction between the clubhouse, which acts as the central node, and then the amenity area in between, and then the potential for some small scale retail or service type of uses that would be in line with the golf course and the residents as well. And we have a few small examples, and again, nothing is specifically planned to this end, but we would work very closely on a DCD document that would speak to the uses and the size and intensity of those uses to make sure that any design is very thoughtful. And again, those uses would likely interface back towards the clubhouse and that amenity zone that would be created for the residents within this area. Next slide, please. Neighborhood parks. Again, this is something that's a little bit different, and what we'd like to do is introduce some different park spaces within the development plan. So with this, we would be introducing some smaller play structures and those types of things for kids or grandkids of the residents of the Willows. We also have a small multi-purpose field located on the south MR of that plan that would be used for a variety of different community programming or non-program to just provide some more open space opportunities for residents of the Willows. The other thing outside of those specific park spaces that would be introduced would be a formalization and improvement of the multi-use trail that many people currently walk around on the west side of the Willows. So we'd want to improve that and make that a more thoughtful trail to walk on and provide some additional walking amenities for the residents. Not specifically shown on this plan, but also part of the plan would be to have a multi-use trail extend from Cartwright over towards Lorne to extend into a existing bike path on Lord to provide hiking and biking opportunities for residents of the Willows. Next slide, please. Transportation. Anna mentioned the transportation study that has been completed for the Willows, and there have been lots of concerns and questions regarding traffic within the Willows. Anna mentioned that the traffic study did require in the future signals at both the intersections of Cartwright and Lorne Avenue and Cartwright and Clarence Avenue in the future. But the provision has been made to be able to put these signals in at the outset if required by the City of Saskatoon. The plan also includes a right out connection from the new phases on to Lorne Avenue. It does not have a right in to prohibit future shortcutting opportunities from vehicles cutting across. I've heard shortcutting as a concern, and I've also seen the document provided by the city and the residents for the traffic review meeting that happened earlier in 2020. So traffic calming measures talked about within that can also be reviewed with transportation departments at the city for their appropriateness as it relates to this plan. But the other thing, I guess, to highlight on the traffic side is that Cartwright is a collector roadway and does have the capacity for the different uses that are proposed for this area, and traffic does increase by about 3 vehicles per minute in the peak hour traffic, which would take the capacity from about 10 to 15% of that road by I guess the standard guidelines. So it does increase traffic, but on Cartwright specifically, and not by any existing residents, existing driveways. And again, like I mentioned, traffic calming measures can be looked at specifically along Cartwright, and hopefully we can address those traffic shortcutting problems that are currently existing and make sure traffic is driving at the appropriate speeds. Next slide, please. Finally, just the policy updates, and Anna did mention these as well, but just wanted to highlight a few of them. The one change that Anna did mention in detail was the fee simple areas as with the plan for the new areas. And again, there would be a process that could be followed to investigate the possibility for others to have the potential for fee simple as well under a separate application. The other thing to mention is the average lot size, and what our current proposal shows is reducing the minimum from 60 feet to approximately 45 feet based on just general trends with lot sizing in general within the city. We still want to maintain very high lot sizing, and the average lot size we would see is in excess of that significantly. So we'd have the very similar size and quality of homes as we currently experience at the Willows. Next slide, please. And finally, I just wanted to show a few separation areas as far as the proximity to existing residential areas and the proposed new areas, and just kind of highlight not only the separation, but also the existence of some of the berming and trees that we have. And just want to further reiterate that additional berming tree plantings can be investigated to provide future and further screening of various areas that we might have. Next slide, please. And finally, just wanted to close with our excitement to really kind of reinvest and put some reinvigoration into the Willows area in general. What we would be planning to do is put some significant investments within the golf course itself, in the clubhouse, and then a larger expanded amenity area around that for existing residents and future residents alike, and then also see the investment of other amenities that would really bode well for the overall successfulness of the Willows going forward. So we're excited that, and I'm excited to hear some comments and questions from the crowd. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad and Anastasia. As mentioned at the beginning of the evening, we will now be taking the opportunity to respond to questions. So on your Teams live application, you should see an icon with a Q&A function, and it looks like two small chat bubbles, and one of them has a question mark on the inside. So once you click that, it should display the title Live Event Q&A. So if you would like to submit a question or a comment, click on the Ask a Question button at the bottom, and this will take you to a My Questions tab where you should be able to type a question into the Ask a Questions box. So we would just ask that the participants at the meeting tonight be mindful and respectful in the asking of questions and the stating of comments. All questions and comments will be published along with the recorded event for all to see, with the exception of submissions deemed inappropriate because of profanities and such. So if you see a question, and also if you see a question that you would like to have answered in the feature tab, you can mark it with a thumbs up, and this helps popular questions rise to the top. So just to note that we are going to be dealing with as many questions as we can in the time permitting, keeping in mind that there are going to be additional opportunities for dialogue. And during this question and answer period, we will try to respond to similar questions in a single response in order to answer as many questions as we can in the allotted time. So with that, we will open up the questions, and I will be reading the questions and directing them to the appropriate person to answer it. Yeah. Okay, so the first question that we have is for Brad, and the question will be, What is in the spa? Does it have rooms for rent, such as a hotel?
The spa, it's the Nordic Spa itself would be a series of outdoor and indoor pools that would focus on different temperature and relaxation techniques, I guess, that are more common to, I guess, how Nordic spas operate themselves. That will be attached to or in conjunction with a wellness hotel with the same group. And just looking at some of the comments here as far as height and number of rooms, we're working with that with the group that is interested in investing in this kind of amenity for the area. And from what we've talked about with them is, I think 4 stories was the height that was contemplated within their design. That hotel would be not on the Red Barn area itself. The spa was planned to be low in the tree canopy, where we would have those various pools and different things related to that. And then the hotel was planned to be more closer to the clubhouse itself, more on the parking lot side. As far as the number of rooms, I'm not 100% sure what their current proposal is. I think it's in around 100 rooms is what I've heard before we're talking with them. Just further to just the Nordic Spa experience itself, there are different, I think the group will be themselves putting out some information in the future more about the specific nature of how a Nordic Spa operates and the tranquility and quiet that is kind of accompanied with that. But there are different videos that you could source online with YouTube or other things about Thermia Spa that's located in Winnipeg that is the same kind of concept, as well as some other spas. The names are escaping me, but they're also kind of in the Kananaskis, Calgary market as well, where they have different descriptions of what that Nordic Spa process is.
Okay, the next question, again, we'll have Brad answer this one. The question is, why aren't the new homes being restricted to the condo format that was originally decided upon? So why is the proposal different than phase 1?
I think the initial Willows overall concept was something that was definitely unique at the time, and the city had never went down a path like that before, so it was quite unprecedented. And the way the original official community plan was written at that time was stated specifically within that to safeguard the city against unknown negative impacts on service levels or infrastructure from a low density development. So that was true at the time because it was unknown and something that was definitely unique. What we've been able to see over the past 15 to 20 years is that the Willows does not negatively impact some of those things, service levels and whatnot. So now the possibility for something like this can be explored, and with that, there would be a process, I understand, for other condo corps to investigate themselves as well to have the same opportunity.
Thanks, Brad. I'll just ask Daryl to maybe follow that question up with the city's response.
Thank you, Leanne. Again, my name is Daryl Dawson. I manage the development review section with the city's planning and development division. With regards to the request, so Dream Developments has requested that the city evaluate a fee simple, so it would be in their market analysis that they've asked for that proposal. The city has done a high-level evaluation to ensure that if we did go to fee simple on the new phase 2 or the proposed phase 2, that it wouldn't have a negative impact on other property owners or taxpayers in the city. It's important to note that condo ownership provides for a choice in service levels, as Anna noted that, and Leanne noted earlier in the presentation. With a condominium and with the ownership of the private roads, you determine the level of service on those roads. We can build out information in the future on what a local road in a typical neighborhood, what service would get for comparison with those condo owners. But really the request came out through Dream Developments to look at a fee simple out of their market analysis for the phase 2, and so the city's role is to evaluate that. Brad mentioned a process to go out of condo. It is a fairly lengthy, I'll say complicated process, but we'd be more than willing to discuss that with any of the condo ownership groups should they wish in the future.
Thank you, Daryl. The next question is, can you explain DCDs in more detail, and is a new DCD4 required to be approved before the overall amendment can be considered? So I will call Anastasia up here to answer this one.
Thank you, Leanne. Yeah, so for direct control districts, as I mentioned, we use them where we want to apply a little bit more specific control into things like the built form that we want to see, as well as the types of land uses. Direct control districts cannot be used to regulate ownership or the business operator, but they can be used to regulate more specific controls, as I mentioned, related to the form or types of uses. A new DCD4 typically wouldn't come before a concept plan amendment. However, the amendments can be brought forward at the same time so that council has the option to consider them together. But the concept plan amendment, we would not be able to adopt updated direct control districts without changing or approving amendments that would support that through the OCP. So it is kind of something that would have to come in conjunction with the concept plan amendments.
Okay, I will just have Daryl Dawson come back up just to add a bit more to the response to that question.
Thanks, Leanne. And actually, all I wanted to add is that Anna's done a great job phrasing what a DCD is. I thought just for example, we can explain a few other the direct control districts. There are 8 in the city right now, and the use really does vary. So River Landing downtown is a direct control district. The regional retail shopping centers, the 3 regional retail shopping centers are regulated by a direct control district. There's the Brighton Village Center as examples. So as Anna noted, those direct control districts have a higher level of control. They have a concept plan in which development is regulated against. So they are more restrictive and more controlling with regulations than a normal zoning district. So I just wanted to add those examples to Anna's answer. If you want information on those, we can provide that later on. The specific regulations for each direct control district are in the city zoning bylaw.
Thanks, Daryl. The next 2 questions are similar regarding consultation. So the first one I will just comment on, and then I'll call Daryl back up here to answer the next one. So the first question is, will the city accept comments by email? The moderator said by letter. Also, what is the deadline for submitting comments? So in terms of the letter that was noting the public notice for the consultation meeting tonight, and for sure we will accept comments by email, telephone. At the end of the presentation, we will have a slide up there with our contact information. And there is no deadline at the moment. We have just started public consultation, so the next event, the date hasn't been chosen, so there's plenty of time, and we haven't decided on a date, so we can't provide that to you at this time. The next question, which I'll have Daryl answer, is timeline for consultation meetings between city officials and resident associations.
Thanks, Leanne. And as I'm waiting for the camera and the mic to turn over to me, I appreciate everyone with our pauses as we work through this technology. With regards to the timeline for consultation, I know we've been asked by or noted that the condo associations would likely like to meet. So our staff, Leanne and Anna, will be reaching out to the individual condo associations where we can set up meetings. We have time. We're just beginning this consultation, so we want to be able to work through to make sure we hear comments, hear questions and get answers back. So there is time to meet, and we'll be reaching out if there's individuals or stakeholders that want to meet with the planning department. We've heard Councillor Lowen is going to make herself available whenever possible. Let us know, and we'll work to set up a time that works. As you can see, as planners do work in the evenings, and we can facilitate some weekend work. So we will work around your schedules to try and facilitate a time to meet that works for you. So hopefully that answers the question. So the message you want to get out today is this is just beginning. We're going to take the time to listen that we need to on this application.
Thanks, Daryl. The next two questions will be for Brad, so I'll ask them one after the other, and you can just stay up here, Brad, and answer both of them if you don't mind. The first one is, why does slide 18 show a large lake and not the proposed multi-story condo development? And the second question is, how does this new proposal differ from the same old subdivision design currently in use everywhere else in Saskatoon?
Sure. Thank you. And slide 18, Anna, is there a possibility of going to that one, just so we can talk about that specifically? I guess while we're waiting, right. So the pond I think we're talking about was previously needed for stormwater management functions within the plan itself. That area has been transformed into a linear park rather than that storm pond. But again, about the development, there is no plan for a multi-story building within anywhere within that zone. That light brown area that's on the concept plan is the same that 201 and 301 were on the original concept plan, and that is what's proposed within that location. Bungalow, villas, and Semi is very similar to that. So there's no proposal for anything multi-story within anywhere in that location. Second question, just about what makes us different than any other neighborhood, and an immense number of things really. And if the lot size is something that is focused on that, there's a comment from someone that mentioned how do people know that we're not going to build all small lots, and that is not the intent whatsoever. So I think the commenter had a kind of a percentage in there, and that is something that we would be very open to. It is our intent to make these lots very large, and on some of the plans that we've had lots that were 75 feet or larger in some of the areas. So it is not the intent to make it anywhere near something of a more, I guess, traditional neighborhood that we've seen in the city, and the DCD zoning itself has different mechanisms within that. So I guess the other number one thing is all the lots provided within the Willows, the existing Willows and the future, are much deeper than any other lot that's currently in the city. So if a standard lot is 35 meters deep within Stonebridge or Brighton or other areas, these lots are 40 to 45 meters deep. So just the fact that the lot has that much extra depth creates a different aspect. There's different setback requirements in the DCD that provide kind of a more separation between the different homes and everything else. And the other thing would be the architectural controls that would be within this neighborhood. So I kind of mentioned them just quickly, but they would be something that is in place to really protect the overall aesthetic of the Willows, and something that would extend likely beyond just the built form of the home itself, but also a bit more specific to the landscaping detail and different things like that with the new homes, to make sure that the high quality of the neighborhood is maintained strongly.
Thanks, Brad. We have another one here for you while you're up there.
Sure.
We have a question regarding the TIA. When was a traffic impact assessment being done? And how do you intend to include the effect of current COVID lockdown restrictions on the amount of traffic? So I'm not 100% sure on that question, so maybe...
I think maybe the question might be related to just the fact that if we did it now, then the traffic would be lower because of COVID. And luckily the traffic study was completed well prior to that. I believe it was approximately 2 years ago. So we would have had full normal operations with the Willows at that time, with the residential areas in place, golf course, event center. though all those types of things considered within it. So there was not a decrease because of COVID with that analysis.
Thanks, Fred.
Yep.
Next question, what percentage of the 602 owners would have to vote in favor of change in condo status? So I will call Daryl Dawson up here to answer this question.
Thanks, Leanne. So a change in condo status requires 100% vote of the members in favor of a change. So with regards to the condo status, that would only be the first step in an evaluation to remove from condo. But in any condominium throughout the city, the Condominium Act does require that it be 100% of the owners vote in favor of the condo status being changed or the condo being removed. That would then move into having to go into a subdivision to create an ownership layer, technical studies on servicing requirements, further concept plan amendments, etc. But to answer the question, 100% is our understanding of the Condominium Act.
Thanks, Daryl. The next question I'll have Anastasia come up to answer, and I just wanted to note that the TIA was done in 2017. The question is, I wrote a letter to Ms. Conley on January 15th. Could those questions be answered?
Hi, so administration is experiencing a high volume of emails and phone calls on this application, and so it is taking us some time to get to everyone's specific questions and comments and concerns. We would ask for patience from the public as we work to get to these questions. As it's been noted, we are very early in the consultation process, and administration might not have all of the answers to your questions at this time, but we are going to be also taking note of those questions and seeking to find the answers for you. And so it will take a little bit of time, but after this meeting, administration will continue to respond to questions that have been submitted and will continue responding to new questions. So please, we encourage you to continue to submit by email or letter or phone call so that we can work with you to understand the application so that you can provide a fuller comment based on the complete application as you understand it.
Thanks, Anna. Okay, the next question is for Brad. Why would we want to move from a bare land condo to the other model? We live at 602 and am generally concerned about this development with increased traffic and not so sure we need a hotel and retail along with the increased traffic from the new houses to the west.
I think the comments were largely related to traffic in the area and then I guess the need for certain things. Traffic with the concept plan having Cartwright also access for the new residential does increase the traffic on Cartwright. However, no additional traffic would be going by anyone's particular driveway or anything of that nature. The one thing that's interesting with the traffic in general is just kind of the relationship between going from a 36-hole golf course and the tournament model to that of the 18 more member and homeowner focused model. So with that and with the traffic generation statistics provided within the report itself and just the other ITE trip manuals, there's the offset. I think there's a question about the traffic potentially generated by the Nordic Spa and hotel, and that traffic is offset by the change in model from going to the 18-hole course from the 36 more focused on tournament play and different things. So I think, with that, we would see just a change in general of things at the Willows to be more member focused and homeowner focused at the golf course area as well. And the traffic that is increased because of the Nordic Spa itself that's specifically talked about is offset by that. And again, traffic calming measures will be investigated with the city on Cartwright and how they relate to different things on the existing roads. And again, the traffic study does show that the study area intersections are all operating at level of service A within the development itself.
Thanks, Brad. A couple more for Brad. Who is doing the market study? When will residents be involved in the study, and will it be available to residents? And a follow-up to that would be Willows Advisory Committee was established in 2018. What has happened since 2018, and why have we not been kept abreast of progression since 2018?
Sounds good. I'll answer the second question first. The Willows Advisory Committee was started in even 2017, I believe, and we did talk about a variety of topics related to this proposal. I'll bet at the time of showing the concept, even the one we have in front, at that time, I guess the commercial or Nordic Spa location was not presented on the current location, just basically as that had not, I guess, come up at that point yet. So the reason being between the delay largely, I think our last meetings was kind of in late 2019. Not a good, and I'm not going to call it an excuse, but part of the reason why is we've had a changeover at the Willows with our golf GM. Wayne was instrumental within that committee itself, and really was kind of the person that kind of spearheaded a lot of that stuff. And with a little bit of the changeover with him, in addition to the COVID stuff, it just kind of put it on hiatus, I guess, which is not a good answer, but that's the why we haven't really reconvened through the 2020 season or yet. So it's something that I think we want to restart. With regards to the market study that is being completed, that is something that is jointly done and is being led by the Nordic Spa group themselves. So that document would be an appendix, I would think, likely to the overall concept plan, similar to the traffic study and different things. And I believe that document does become public through the process, just like any of the other studies would be. And again, that's looking at, I guess, different macroeconomic factors with that type of use within the context of the city and the Willows specifically as well, with the different, I guess, population bases within it. So that's what I can offer on that subject.
Thanks, Fred. Next, I will call Anastasia back up. The question is, Ms. Conley skipped over the tax portion of the fee simple lots. How would the taxes be different?
Residential condominiums and single family or fee simple properties belong to the same tax class and are therefore taxed using the same property tax rate. The property tax paid by each property is determined by multiplying the property's taxable assessment by the tax rate. However, despite being taxed at the same rate, residential condominiums and fee simple residential properties are assessed differently. In determining a property's assessed value, residential condominiums are compared to other similar residential condominiums, and fee simple residential properties are compared to other fee simple residential properties within the city of Saskatoon. So the property tax rate is the same, the assessed value is different, and assessed value is based on a wide variety of things. We have been receiving this question quite a lot, and we are going to be working with our city assessors to build out a more comprehensive response for the residents so that they have that information.
Thanks, Anna. Next question will be for Mr. Dawson regarding conversion of Bearland Condo. What would it cost to convert the Bearland Condo developments into fee simple, and who would pay for this?
That's a good question. As far as the cost to convert from fee simple. We would not have that cost. It would be on the property owners who are part of the condo association, would be responsible for hiring the design professionals and any fees associated with the conversion, or looking at that process through getting rid of the condo association or removing the condo association, and the land titles associated, subdivisions and concept plan amendments would be on the concept, or on the condo owners for that. So there's a lot of those fees that are private consulting fees that the city would not have information on.
Thanks, Daryl. The next question is related to lot sizes, so I will call Brad up here again. He did answer a bit in the chat here, but I'll just have him expand on the answer. So if minimum lot sizes of 45 feet are allowed, how do we know Dream won't build many lots that way? Would Dream and the city be amenable to DCD4 regulations that limit a minimum of lots, example 5%, to less than 60 feet?
And like I mentioned in the comments, I think that's a great idea. It's not the intention to build to the minimum by any means, and we'd like to build larger ones, like I mentioned earlier. So a suggestion like that is something that is very workable.
Okay, and another question for you, Brad.
Okay.
Why did it take so long for Dream to consult with residents at the Willows regarding this amendment?
We have done, I guess, various stages. So, and I appreciate the question, because the level of consultation obviously is really ramped up right now. And I guess we have done different consultation aspects, but nothing as direct as this. And further to the comments, I guess, of yours, Leanne, at the very start of this meeting, we viewed the initial public information meetings, and again, this is the first one, is kind of starting that conversation and following the city process and the Planning Development Act's process for those consultation measures. Further to that, in December, I have reached out to every single one of the condo board members, or sorry, presidents, and have requested meetings with them, and I have talked with some of them, and I would like to continue those discussions with them, but also with just general people at the Willows, not specifically just the presidents themselves, and unfortunately we haven't been able to connect on that one yet, but hopefully that's coming. I know many will say that it's reactive in nature, but really, again, like I mentioned, I guess we viewed this as the first step in following those processes, and we're interested to keep following those processes as we go forward here.
Thanks, Brad. The next two questions I will direct to Daryl. Do the residents of the Willows get a vote on this proposal? And the biggest issue is the lack of consultation. We need a meeting with the presidents of the condo associations because of COVID, perhaps with one other person and the developer.
Thank you, Leanne. So the answer, do the residents get to vote? The decision on the amendments lies with City Council. City Council will vote on the application. Administration's role is to hear the comments and concerns from residents and balance those with city's policies, as well as other zoning regulations and our future growth. So we don't hold a vote with regards to the residents. We do listen to what your concerns are and compile those to council, and ultimately City Council will vote on any amendments that are brought forward at a public hearing at a very future date. With regards to the comment about lack of consultation, as noted, this is our first public information meeting. We've put some information online. We postponed our December meeting as we heard that residents didn't get the notice. So we want to make sure people got notified of this public information meeting. So as far as lack of consultation, we are just beginning our consultation process. We'll work out to build with stakeholders, meeting with the condo associations, that's one we'll do, but we also recognize that there's residents of condo associations that we want to be able to ensure we address everybody's concerns, answer people's questions, and be able to have that communication. So we do recognize that there is the condo associations, we'll reach out to those, but we also want individuals to understand that we're here to discuss their questions and concerns as well.
And another follow-up for you, Daryl. Since we are moving to fee simple lots, what is the requirement for municipal reserve, which is currently 0?
Excellent question. A technical question. So the original Willows deferred municipal reserve, but any subdivision for a residential lot under current planning legislation is 10% of the subdivided land is required to be dedicated for municipal reserve. So when you look at the subdivision area, the municipal reserve being provided is slightly under. So then we look at other options of how we address that dedication of municipal reserve. Is it deferred for a future subdivision? Is it taken in cash in lieu? Is it provided to a different area owned by Dream Developments? But we do want to balance and make sure that they're with fee simple, we are providing that municipal reserve. So that's a very good question. In a residential area, the basic answer is 10% of land, developable land, is required to be dedicated for municipal reserve.
Thanks, Daryl. The next 2 questions will be for Brad. Did the local traffic study include noise or just roadway vehicular capacity? And if the focus is on the existing community and the residents, how does a Nordic Spa and Hotel accomplish this?
Was there another part to that last question, Leanna?
The second question was if the focus is on the existing community and residents. Okay.
Yeah. First with the traffic study, within this location, the noise portion was not included as part of this analysis. At the outset of the original Willows analysis, it would have been, and it would have likely been related to the train itself. Typically, that's one of the things that that triggers a review of noise and vibration. Is that so? Specific noise was not part of that traffic impact study, and related to the Nordic Spa and the existing residents and kind of things around that. What I guess is proposed is some very interesting amenities and something that is looking to be, I guess, invested within the Willows and invested within the city, and something that is very unique in that sense. And I guess with regards to the existing residents, it's investment in the clubhouse, the golf course, and the other amenities that we're really trying to bring to the table to make a strong place now and into the future for that. So, and I do appreciate that you know, different things are different for other people, and I do acknowledge that you know, something's not for everyone, obviously, and I'm not sure how to say that, but people do have different perspectives.
Thanks, Brad. The next question I will call upon Anna. How many more dwellings, houses, condos, apartment-style condos does the proposed development have compared to the approved development?
Sorry, Leanne, could you repeat that question, please?
Yes, sorry. How many more dwellings, houses, condos, apartment-style condos does the proposed development have compared to the approved development?
I don't have the stats quite on hand. Maybe Anna, if you have that handy, but I think the population statistics are roughly there, and what I think that the city would have roughly a 2.8% per person per unit within that. So there is an increase of about, just using that math, we'll say 300 units over and above. I guess one of the things I want to highlight with that is, again, that the introduction of the triangular piece to the north and how it is part of this plan, but again, it's not directly related interior to the Willows and is adjacent to it. So And
Okay.
I can get a better answer in the future too, so I can put that out. Yeah.
Sorry, I think Anna has the answer here. Sorry if I was a bit quick on that question there, Anna.
No, I apologize. It just took me a moment to pull up the land use statistics. So for the approved phase 2 of the Willows concept plan, for single family units, that was approved at around 125, townhouses 157 for a total of about 283, and then proposed for the proposed amendment, the total residential number of units is increased to 698 proposed units. So 283 in the approved concept plan, 698 in the proposed amendment.
Thanks, Anna. The next question will be for Brad. Specific question about distance. So what is the proposed distance from the north edge of the commercial property to the south edge of Windermere Villas?
I have recently measured that and it's about 42 feet at the closest side and then up to 75 feet at the other side. And again, that would maintain the trees that are located within that and make sure that they're still within the golf course land so that they can't be touched. And again, between that line itself and then anything else that would happen, lower down within that tree canopy, there would also be a city setback and landscape strip that would be provided standard, I guess, with other developments with regards to setbacks.
Okay, 2 more questions for Brad. What is the difference between a wellness hotel and a regular hotel? And are the changes to Xena limited to Xena 9?
The difference between the wellness hotel and a regular hotel will be detailed in further by others, but really, I guess the focus of the wellness hotel is it has different massage kind of aspects that could be kind of throughout the hotel and maybe not in a specific area, but also translate over to your room with different offerings like that. It would focus on some small classes that would be related to more wellness things, Pilates, other kind of things around that sphere, but there are others that are better at describing that, and then they will be doing so, I think, in the future. Second question was, what?
Are the changes to Xena limited to Xena 9?
No, what the plan would be to fix some of the other problem areas that we've experienced with residents over the years with regards to the Xena layout, specifically with some T-box locations and other things. So we'd be looking at incorporating the necessary changes on that. Also, I mentioned Doug Carrick is the golf course architect that we've contracted with. There'd be other changes that he would oversee to ensure that the overall 18 plays as one, has consistent greens, has a consistent feel, so it does feel like one complete course rather than an old 9 and a new 9. So that is also something that's contemplated with that as the improvements in that area.
Thanks, Brad. So as we anticipated, we have quite a few questions, so we are going to try to answer as many as we can, but I did forget to mention at the beginning that we have started to develop a frequently asked questions document, so we will take the remainder of the questions that don't get answered tonight and incorporate them into our frequently asked questions document, which we will include on our Engage page for everyone to be able to read. So the next question I will direct towards Mr. Dawson. For the City of Saskatoon, what are the next steps and those timeframes from today, and what would be the soonest all this could happen?
That's a good question. So the next steps are ongoing consultation. We have some other stakeholders that we need to meet with, the condo associations. We have individuals. We saw people in the chat saying you haven't responded to my letter yet. We do want to work on answering those questions, hear the concerns, and finish off that evaluation. So that is going to take a little bit of time. We have not set a time frame for when this will go to Municipal Planning Commission and City Council yet. just based on the comments we're hearing and the number of items that we want to look at and be able to address. What we will do is make sure that when the dates that we have for, if it's going to be a future live meeting like this or other meeting, that we keep those posted on our Engage page. That at the point in time in the future when we have finished our recommendation reports are going to Planning Commission, City Council, that you're aware of those. But at this time, I can't comment on a date because we don't have those finalized yet.
Thanks, Daryl. So the next question, I will start with Brad, and Daryl may want to follow up with this one. How is it possible for Dream to remove trees and begin servicing of the area west of 301 Cartwright Terrace when this doesn't resemble the original 2003 plan?
Thank you. No servicing work has been done, but some general area grading has been completed, and that was completed with what's called a pre-development protocol, I guess, approval form that the city does maintain within certain development areas. So we did everything based on that, and I guess it was done, I guess, more closely to kind of when the original submission of this plan was made around that time. Specific to that, I do know that it looks quite poor there, and I apologize, and we'll be doing weed control, making sure it looks a lot better, and I do apologize for that.
Just a comment on the city's pre-development protocol process. So the city has provided a process in which developers can make application for what we call a permit for pre-development. It allows them to go in and do site grading, etc. when we have a concept plan that's been submitted but not finalized. What the city is looking at is ensuring that natural areas are protected, that it's not going to impact any of those, but it's not setting out pre-approval on the process. It's allowing the developer to go ahead and do land development work ahead of approval, and they understand that the plan is under review.
Next question will be for Brad. Where are the 45-foot lots going to be located, and how does the lot size compare to the Stonebridge area? I think you're just on mute there, Brad.
Sorry. As mentioned earlier, with regards to the 45-foot minimum, there's no prescribed area that it was specifically contemplated, and I think something that was mentioned earlier as far as a percentage is something that is probably a good idea. We don't have any planned right now. So speaking as the relationship between that and Stonebridge, the latter phases of Stonebridge would likely be below 40 feet on their frontage. The older areas of Stonebridge would be within the 40 feet zones, and in certain other areas like Rosewood and Brighton, the average front drive lot would be about 36, 38 feet. So it kind of gives you a different idea of that. But again, there's no specific magic to 45 or a certain location or number. So we very open to different aspects of limiting that, and similar to what was suggested, maybe it's a percentage based thing that we can take a look at.
Next question, another follow-up for Brad. With the concerns around the new homes that are planned for the new area, do you have a sense of the lot values out in the new area? What would the exterior finishes entail?
The exterior finishes would be governed by a new, I guess, architectural guideline document that would be more specific to the exterior being high quality, very similar to what we've had before, but probably even a bit more so specifically than the previous architectural document. That would also feature some language and some requirements around landscaping as well on the front yard, specifically to make sure that there's a very high quality design with that. Speaking specifically about the lot prices, obviously there'd be a range based on different amenity types and whatnot, but the average lot price would likely be in and around $350,000. So likely would see very large homes built on these lots.
The next question is a clarification for Anna. The number of new proposed residents was stated as 1,300, but the study states 1,713 new residents. That is a 500-person difference, which is correct.
So 1,713 is the estimated population for the phase 2, including the addition of the 7.4 hectare parcel. So of that 1,713, 326 people is the estimated population for the additional 7.4 hectare parcel. The remainder of the phase 2 would be the increase from 722 people in the original approved concept plan to 1,387 in the proposed. So 1,387 for the phase 2, and then the additional 326 people, 1,713 total.
Thanks, Anna. The next question will be, we'll start with Brad, and I think Mr. Dawson might want to follow this one up. How do we know that Dream won't abandon an 18-hole golf course in the future, endangering the existence of any golf course? Could the city insist on a performance bond or some sort to ensure the golf course is not abandoned?
Sure, I can start with that. We don't want to abandon any golf course or anything of that nature, and what we're really trying to do and focus on is create the conditions for a successful course in the future. And again, one that focuses on members and homeowners and more of that experience is what we're endeavoring to do. So we would want to maintain that and create the conditions for a successful 18-hole course now and well into the future.
And just to follow up from the city's regulatory perspectives, what the zoning would provide for would be the golf course community. I'm not aware of any tools that would require the developer to operate a golf course or to ensure its long-term operation. So what we want to do is make sure we have the zoning in place and the provision in place that identifies a golf course. That long-term operation is one of those things that there would be limited ability for the city to say it has to be operated as a golf course.
Okay, next two questions will be for Brad. The first one is, does the Nordic Spa allow for reduced rates for Willow residents? And the second is, Dream has proposed massive changes to the 2003 Neighbourhood Concept Plan. More than 300 properties have been purchased based in part on the 2003 Neighbourhood Concept. What is the justification for these proposed changes?
The first one specific to the Nordic Spa, I can't really answer. I guess I would just offer that similarly, if there's things that you know the Willows does specific to residents, and I know we have done different programs before, the potential does exist for them to do the same thing, but that is not I guess for us to decide. I hope they do, but I guess further to the next question about the changes and the justification for those. I mentioned before some of the changes are related to just the golf course configuration and trying to create a successful model for the golf course to thrive now into the future. And that was one of the main considerations with going to the 18-hole model, specifically with some of the added residential that is there in place of that. Again, as we're focusing more on a member-driven, homeowner-driven type of operation, having that there also does provide a good base for the golf course to succeed and exist far into the future. And with regards to some of the I guess based on the existing plan and the 300 properties that were purchased based on this, what we're trying to add and make significant investments into the course, clubhouse, and surrounding area, and we're really hopeful that these these investments and these amenities will really lift up and provide long-term interest in the Willows and really help provide strength for those future property values.
Okay, the next question, we'll start with Anastasia, and then I think Brad will probably want to follow up with this one. Having found a website called Core Hotels, Scanvic Hotels and Nordic Spa stating that they have a 50,000 square foot hotel and spa coming soon to a prestigious Saskatoon neighborhood. Does this mean the City of Saskatoon has already approved Dream Development proposal and that this meeting is irrelevant? And how many hotels has the City of Saskatoon approved as an infill project in a residential community?
I can maybe just jump on that one, Leanne. That is the group, and does that mean the city is already approved? Not at all. So they're hoping to make this amenity come to fruition, and they have put it on their site, I guess, but that does not preempt anything else as part of the civic approval process with regards to this.
You're on mute, Daryl.
The city has not approved the application. As noted, we're only in consultation, so there's been no approval. As far as the number of hotels developed or on infill, we would have to do some analysis. There are hotels with regards to that have developed. There's the Sandman to the north. There's been the Alt Hotel downtown. So there has been a number of hotels built within the city that we could look at in our Q&A and provide a total number of hotel permits that we can find that have been issued.
Thanks, Daryl. So the next two questions are related to views, so I will call upon Brad to answer these. 401, 404, and 405 Cartwright have a number of suites looking over the proposed new development of the Bridges #1 hole. Many residents purchased these suites because of the wide open view. I suspect this development will reduce the value of these views. Are there any plans to address this? And the second question, our home is 104 with west facing view, and our concern is the new proposal now includes a significant development west and south of the clubhouse, which did not previously exist. There has been no mention yet to the impact to homes like ours on the unobstructed view we currently enjoy and paid a significant premium for. Please explain how this concern will be addressed.
Thank you, Leanne. I mentioned a little bit earlier how we can definitely look at different screening techniques, whether it's landscape or berming, to further address this. But some views off in the distance will be affected by that. And I guess the thought is, obviously with some of the landscaping things and that we can do in modifications in that regard, as far as the property value in general, I would limit back to the investments that are being contemplated and look to be made within the area to kind of safeguard and improve property values in the area. But again, further screening and specific site design, we can be looking at that and make changes as required for those types of things, definitely.
Okay, so I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. It is 8:30, so we are coming to the end of our meeting. We do realize that we have quite a few questions left, so as mentioned, we are going to be having additional meetings where we can continue to have this dialogue and answer the questions, and in addition to that, provide more information on our Engage page with the frequently asked questions page, as well as being open to receiving feedback through email, telephone calls, and however you see fit. So we just want to thank everyone who took the time to be here tonight. And we want to let you know that the next steps in the process include continued public consultation. And additional details regarding this will be forthcoming. And as I mentioned, feedback and questions can continue to be provided to the city and Dream Developments as noted on this slide that's up next to me on the screen. We also wanted to note that city administration will also be continuing their technical review, and once this process is complete, a recommendation by city administration will be formulated and presented to Municipal Planning Commission and subsequently to council for consideration. And just to note, as mentioned previously, dates have not been set for either of those meetings. And we also wanted to mention before we close for the evening that all the questions that have been asked tonight will be posted along with the video. So we look forward to continuing this conversation, and we hope that you have an enjoyable rest of your evening. Thank you.
If I may, Leanne, just in closing, also mention that I do realize that there's a lot of comments here, and I would like to answer and discuss them all with the people who've asked them. So I will ask that everyone please also feel free to email me. My email address is not there. It's first initial last name @dream.ca. And it's also on the FAQ sheet that was dropped off previous. And if you didn't receive a copy of that, all the condo board presidents received an email copy on Friday, and you can contact one of them if they haven't already made that available to you. And my contact information is there to answer any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.